Welcome back to Respect the Process. I'm Kelly Hunter alongside Chris Stewart, who we're just going to go ahead and start this, that I owe you
I'm
an
not
extensive
talking to
apology
you.
because
this is going to be a tough podcast. We're not talking to each other.
Unfortunately, this is the effect I have on people. In case you missed it last week, early in the first show of the second season,
you asked me the question.
I asked you if you had slipped and said Coach Saban instead of Coach DeBoer. I said, no, I've worked very hard on this. But if I did, we would cut it out.
I was real quick in saying, I haven't, but you've ensured that I will. And it did not take you 4 hours.
About 5 to 6 hours later, I get out of the shower and I see a text that says, this is your fault.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. That could be from anyone. But then I saw it was from you, and I was like, pourquoi? What happened? Mm-hmm. And
you Jimmy landmined me.
This was on his coach's call-in show.
It was. And I didn't, you said, have you called him Coach Saban yet?
Yes. Have you slipped up yet and said Saban instead of DeBoer at any point?
And I said, no, but you've ensured that I will. Well, I worked with a man for 17 years. So. And
you do more than just call the football game. That's the important thing. You do his post-game show.
Right.
You do his call-in show. You do a lot of things with the coach.
I do with Coach DeBoer.
Yes.
But have done Saban's radio show. I did Saban's TV show for a dozen years.
Yeah.
And worked with the program the entire time that he was there. So, yeah, you get into muscle memory. And that's what happened. He came over, and we were coming out of a commercial break. And you know how this is. You go into autopilot mode on some things, especially when you do a show with great frequency.
Yes.
When you were doing daily radio, when I've done daily radio, ball games, whatever, and I got into that autopilot mode where I was saying 877-202 Bama is the number to call if you've got a question for Coach Saban. I was the only person in the restaurant that did not catch the fact that I had said Saban.
I want to remind everybody here at the restaurant, Baumhauer's Victory Grill, you do get an opportunity to ask Coach Saban a question. We've got a microphone, and we're going to have it here in front. We're going to get to that.
His reaction was...
I had no clue that I'd said it.
I know.
Everybody else did, but I didn't. And so when Tom Stipe starts flapping his hand in front of me, and I'm like, what?
Did I do it already?
Did I? Wrong copy?
Here's the thing. He starts doing that, and I happen to look right at Nicole DeBoer, and she's giving me. And I thought, oh, Lord. Did I just do it? And that's when I turned to Kalen and I said, did I really do that? Mm-hmm. And he grinned and he goes, the man's everywhere. He's all over the place. So then from there, I look at the watch and I said, let the record show whoever had 646 on September 4th, congratulations. You had it in the office pool, you win. And so I did, but technically, it's not like I looked at him and said,
"No,
Coach DeBoer." I was going through the other. He was phenomenal.
Yes.
I hated that it wasn't like I've said far more embarrassing things, and had said far more embarrassing earlier that day.
I just couldn't believe that the same day. What do I do?
Within 4 hours. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Chris, has anyone ever walked up to you and offered you $10 million unattached? We're going to try that.
Thank you. I will take that if they do. And I will say this on the record. I will give you a very good percentage of it if they do.
Okay. Well, and I'm glad. There are some coaches who would not have taken it.
Oh, God.
As well as he did.
He even went to the commercial break. I apologized on air, but we went to the commercial break at the end of that segment, and I apologized again. And he goes, man, don't worry about it. He goes, no big deal. He goes, the day that I was introduced, I called Alabama Washington. Yeah. No big deal. So he's phenomenal.
Yeah.
He did. This was really funny. Nicole DeBoer joined him and me on stage at what used to be Nick at Noon. Mm-hmm. It's now Crimson Kickoff with Coach DeBoer as your phone rings. This is payback to you. What was the ringtone, for crying out loud?
The Ramones. She knows a punk rocker because no one else has that ringtone.
You're exactly right.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yes,
That's
please
all
go
right.
ahead.
So anyway, Nicole DeBoer's part of the show, basically the luncheon, Crimson Kickoff with Coach DeBoer on Friday, and I asked her a question. I asked her to tell the story from her perspective of the press conference when he was introduced as the head football coach at Alabama, in the emotion of going from, national championship game on Monday to here you are cross country and 2 kids, and y'all put up a wonderful face. But I know it had to be tough. What I did not know is that particular this past weekend was the last weekend that they actually had their daughter with them before she was going to go back to Washington to start college. And it is their oldest child, so the first child to go away. So she starts to tell that. She starts crying. And, of course, I joked about that. Which lightened the mood, and it made it a little bit better with her. But on Saturday morning, when Coach DeBoer and I are sitting down ready to do his pregame interview for radio, he goes, "Hey, nice job." He goes, "Made my wife cry. Good job." Yeah. And I said, "But I did call her the right name, though. That's good." And he said, "Improvements. Yeah, a great thing."
Yeah.
So we had fun with it. He's awesome.
No. Yeah. But also this past weekend, I want to talk about. We talk about that he is everywhere, honoring Nick Saban. You were a big part of.
And I was afraid I was going to call him Coach DeBoer.
You did a great
ceremony.
job. No, you did a great job. We saw you off the field unveiling the sign. Yeah. And then that was a quick turnaround for you to be upstairs and then go down on the field, too, at halftime, wasn't it?
Well, actually, I left the booth with about 6 minutes to go in the quarter.
Okay.
AI
Roger
is
amazing.
Hoover, well, that's right. No, it was RH instead of AI, but because Roger Hoover was there, and we got a deep roster on our crew, and Roger, there was no hesitation when we're talking about what to do with that. I said, "There's no way I can be late because I know how timing works," and I would have had plenty of time. However, didn't want to risk it, and it was giving Roger an opportunity to do play-by-play in that particular ball game, and he was great with it. Got to call a touchdown. He actually got to call 2. One of them got called back, but we, that was planned. He did the last 5 minutes, I guess, on the clock of the first half, and then the probably first 5 or 6 of quarter number 2, just how it played out. So that's why I didn't have to rush, and it allowed me to get down there and kind of gather my thoughts before I introduced Coach on the field, which he had told me on the elevator ride down. It's packed with his family and then everybody that's going to be down there, but they told me don't leave. Make sure you're by Coach because you're the 2 that are going to be talking.
Okay.
So, got to make sure you're there with him.
Don't lose Coach.
Don't lose Coach, and actually didn't want him losing me. Right. So, anyway, we're there together, and it's packed on this elevator, and we're kind of facing each other, and he's looking down, and all of a sudden he just looks up and goes, "I ain't going long." Which I knew what that meant was
keep it tight.
You better not be going long either, boy.
Keep it tight.
And so I just kind of grinned and said, "Coach, I promise I'm not either." And it was very special. Those the old videos of Lou Gehrig announcing his retirement, and Mel Allen, the voice of the Yankees, being on the field. Much different scale, but in my world, knowing that I got to be kind of in the same role as Mel Allen, and how historically all these years later, there's there's video of that. And from Alabama's perspective, there's going to always be the record of
absolutely
when Coach Saban had his name put on the field. And that's going to be part of it. It'll be an honor to be there next to Greg and Dr. Bell and the
only
Saban
other
family.
honor is Bryant-Denny. There is nothing bigger than that. And in the modern day, yes, you have Saban Field.
Yeah. So it was very neat to have that front row seat, but to also have a very small part of it. You know, they're never going to name anything like that after me. So getting to be a part of that ceremony for him was really cool. Both outside the stadium, 2:30 that afternoon before a 6 o'clock kick, and then at halftime as well. Very honored. But the only real pressure that you feel in that is you don't want there to be anything that takes away from his moment,
right?
From the honor, and you don't want people to remember it for something else. You don't want to say the wrong name again.
No, but also he is. I mean, yes, he has an ego, but he does not like big public presentations dedicated to him. He enjoys the winning. He enjoys the process, but he does tend to get embarrassed when it's.
Well, and he wanted to make sure that he acknowledged very humbly as he did
exactly
everybody else that helped make that happen.
Yeah.
So it was special. It was a very, very historic, very good day, and thanks to a 28-3 fourth quarter, it became just fine. Despite the fact Alabama did win that game, right?
That's what I heard.
Okay, yeah. Well, I didn't. It sounds like from talking to everybody that Bama lost.
So we're going to get into the game now.
Okay, good.
We're going to start with the positives. And you give it to Alex Golesh in South Florida. They came prepared.
As they did a year ago.
They absolutely came, and they were ready to play. And Alabama,
they're better than they were a year ago, too.
Alabama had to play a dominant fourth quarter to ensure that happened. And looking at the errors, on defense, they couldn't close the gaps. The quarterback rushed for over 100 yards. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are looking at the defense and wondering, was it that the players not executing, or was it coaches not making adjustments to be able to stop South Florida?
See, I think, first of all, there's not enough credit for them because people look at the brand name and no, they're not. They're not Florida State of a year ago. They're not Miami historically. They're not Florida historically. But they're pretty talented.
Oh, absolutely.
And last year, their quarterback, and I talked about it on the broadcast, their quarterback was in the top 10 in a bunch of categories, especially when it came to running. He's a threat throwing it as well.
Mm-hmm. Thankfully, he wasn't able to connect on too many of those.
He couldn't. Yeah. They were not good, thankfully, on Saturday, or that would have been even dicier. That being said, they can move the football. Mm-hmm. And Alabama's going to give up yards. But this defense, through 2 weeks, has given up a grand total of 16 points. If they didn't have something to them, there would have been a whole lot more than 16 scored by that USF squad. They're going to it's the cliche, but it is true with this particular group. They're going to bend some, but they haven't shown much break just yet. It's about to ramp up.
Right, quickly.
Wisconsin, I still don't think they're great on offense.
They're still searching for their identity.
But they're a step above USF. Georgia, we know, is right now the cream of the crop, or so we think, 2 weeks in. And obviously on what they have shown in the past, then they're deserving. You're going to have to be great to have a chance in that particular ball game.
Yeah.
But that all being said, you've given up a grand total, again, of 16 points, and you've scored over 100 in 2 games thus far. I'm not concerned about who they are. They will work and they will clean up the mistakes, both penalties and turnovers, in that game. But again, scored 42 points.
Yeah.
Despite those miscues.
Well, yeah, and I was going to say, it felt like the offense was never able to really get in a rhythm. Until
it did.
Until it did. But in the fourth quarter, was it as simple as Elijah Pritchett coming in and Formby coming out?
It helped, but I think they also
I didn't want to oversimplify.
Yeah,
yeah.
No, it definitely helped. There's no question it helped. Wilkin Formby's going to be a tremendous lineman, but he's also a freshman right now. Mm-hmm. You know, he's a second-year kid, but he's a
Proctor,
freshman.
Last year, we saw what happened to him as a freshman.
And they also had a great lineman, but a first-time left tackle that's on the other side.
Yeah.
Alabama did, Tyler Booker. They will be better soon on the offensive line, but they're still trying to get everything figured out. They got to get healthy, for one thing, but as they do, I think it's going to help them figure things out a lot better.
Yeah, and if you can get Proctor back in this weekend, if you could get Pritchett on the other end, and if you could maybe the middle.
And I don't know if Proctor's going to be back yet.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he won't. I'm just saying I don't know yet whether that's going to be the case or what that's going to look like.
Well, and last week with the offensive line, 70 yards and penalties, two TDs that were walked back as well. And early in the game, which is what we felt critical as we're watching this game go down the stretch. But one thing, this game, I felt like at halftime, Greg Sankey had to have called the officiating crew and been like, guys, we have a 3.5 hour window. Yeah. I know you're calling this game tight.
And you're calling it equally. It was both sides. It was not a one-sided deal, but there was, everything. Look, you can probably throw a flag on every play. You got 22 guys out there. The reality is if you're going by the letter of the law, you can probably call it every time. And they're human. I think they get in a rhythm of throwing flags, and it's kind of hard to stop because suddenly everything you do see is magnified. How do you stop once you really start? Yeah. So
it was a long game for me sitting at home. I cannot imagine the length of the game when you're in the booth.
Well, again, I got a nice break between the middle of the second quarter and the start of the third. So while I would agree it wasn't as bad as it might have been otherwise.
Okay, but again, it was a W.
It was a win. Convincing win.
A convincing win when you look at the final score, but we're turning our attention now to Wisconsin. First road game for the Tide. I think they're favored by about 16 points right now. Heading into Camp Randall Stadium, pretty healthy. I think this is still a Big Ten team. I don't think that they have.
That's right. I was trying to remember. It's funny
pretty sure
you say
they're
that.
Still Big Ten.
It's so funny because I saw that they're playing USC in their next game, and I was trying to remember, all right, do Wisconsin go to the Pac-12? Oh, wait, there is no more Pac-12. So, yes, they are Big Ten. Yeah. I knew it was a league game.
No, yeah, I mean that's the thing you literally do when you're looking down the roster, when you're looking down the schedule going, I don't know what conference that is anyways. But coached by Luke Fickell, his second year coaching there, so still trying to find their identity a little bit. And they have Luke Van Dyke as their, it's Luke, isn't it? Not Tyler.
I knew you were going to do that.
I knew it.
It is Tyler Van Dyke.
Okay, Tyler Van Dyke.
I knew that wasn't right, but Van Dyke was
journeyman
correct.
Quarterback, and has not always played great in big games. But this is an opportunity for Alabama to go on the road against a Big Ten team and try and correct what was awry last week.
Yeah, and if they do, they'll be fine. I mean, this is a team that's only scored 28 and 27 against Western Michigan, South Dakota. Not terrible teams.
No, but
not marquee.
Western Michigan took them to the wall too.
So they've got their, they got a lot they've got to get cleaned up. But if you go in with a mindset, and frankly, it's why I'm glad Alabama didn't play better than they did Saturday, because they will be focused all week in practice. On getting stuff cleaned up. If you win back-to-back games, let's just say 63-0, it's kind of tough to tell a kid, hey, you got to work and improve when they've absolutely obliterated their first two opponents, and the team you're going to be facing has struggled as Wisconsin has. Wisconsin has their full attention, and Bama's trying to improve themselves this week, which will help make Saturday even a better performance, I think.
I think what a lot of people want to see is that they get off to that quick start.
Yeah.
Those first 10 to 15 scripted plays, that they see them both on offense and defense come out, step on a throat, and get that fast start, which was not evident last weekend.
No, you're right.
I would have to think that would be a best outcome for this weekend.
I don't disagree, because you don't want to give their crowd, they're going to be into it anyway.
Oh, yeah.
But one of the things, the old joyless murder ball thing of Alabama, of days gone by, going on the road and quieting a crowd quickly.
Yeah.
Taking away any hope, because everybody's pumped initially. What was the Mike Tyson line? Everybody's got a plan till you get punched in the mouth. And you need to do that and take the crowd, make sure they're limping around, not jumping around.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It is a big stadium. Mm-hmm. It's not Alabama big, but when you get the crowd going,
sure,
and against Alabama, this is their opportunity. And I liked, Coach DeBoer had a really good phrase that he used in the coaches show when y'all were talking. And it wasn't just put guys in, it's continue to build depth, which I liked. I thought that was an interesting way to phrase it, so that, yes, you with each play, if somebody is nicked up, if something happens, you are continuing to build depth on this roster.
And that's why they played so many guys defensively a week ago.
Yeah.
It's why, despite the fact they didn't look great in the first 3.5 quarters against USF, probably good you got to play some of the guys you have on offense. You've gotten the snaps. You've gotten a real life, not just practice, not just scrimmage situation. You've seen it on film against an opponent in front of God and everybody where the weaknesses are.
Yeah.
So you can go and get that hopefully fixed or improved. It's not like a 1 week thing, but you can show improvement week by week, and hopefully starting Saturday in Madison.
And this is a game where obviously anything can happen, but when you're looking at the schedule, most people would put in a W next to this game. With heading into Georgia still a question mark.
Yeah.
But I think that is the assumption, and that if it were not to be a W.
What are you, if you're asking me which one I'm more comfortable with, obviously It's Wisconsin as opposed to Georgia. But regardless of what happens, I feel really comfortable in saying, regardless of what the outcome is, there's a lot of work to be done within 2 weeks from the end of that game until you face Georgia. Because
I do feel like the playbook, you're going to say, how much of the playbook have we seen? I feel like it's open, and they're executing what they're capable of right now. In terms of, you have personnel that these coaches have inherited that they're working with within their system.
Well, the playbook is going to be much larger for Georgia than it was against Western Kentucky, partly because of what you said with trying to get better, trying to get more comfortable, improve, all of that, obviously. And those things happen week by week. But also, you've been able to keep stuff in your hip pocket that you don't want to show until you may need it. And I think there are going to be a lot of looks that you'll see against Georgia that you hadn't seen one inkling of in the first 3 ball games of the season.
Okay, so you're traveling up to Wisconsin this weekend.
That is the plan.
Do you travel with the team, or do you travel on your own?
On our own. We'll be at the team hotel, but traveling on our own.
How do you do the coaches show after a game this far away? Like, because it's not like you're not in just Starkville where you can do
the about the post-game TV show? Everything's always been done. I say always, forgive me. Since I've been involved, we have done the show on the field. And one of the things we said with Coach DeBoer this year, unless you are just locked in on something you feel is really important, such as having the show on Wednesday as opposed to Thursday. I think it's one of the things I've loved about working with him is that he trusts us to let us do it the way we've done it until he sees that there's something, it doesn't fit with what he needs to do or want to do. That being said, rather than doing the interview for pregame on radio when they arrive at the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
I got with him Thursday. Oh, let me back up. I'm sorry. Saturday morning at 11 a.m. at the team hotel.
Gotcha.
Before the game at 6 that night. You know, we knocked that out well in advance. I'm not exactly sure what time we'll do Saturdays, but with the TV show, what we've done in the past and what we're doing now, if it's a home game, we tape it pretty quickly after the game ends upstairs in the Crimson Tide Production Studios. If it's a road game, it's on the field, and we just tape it on the field, and they go back and
just because I think the plane's not going to take off without Coach, so that's why I was just curious as to how y'all did that, because it is a wheels up situation where
it is, but there's plenty of time. By the time kids, they've got media responsibilities. Shower, families are there, and they get a few minutes to visit with the family. You get everything, because you got to get everybody loaded up, which means, there's things equipment. Not the equipment stuff comes on a truck later, but getting the process started of cleaning up and everything that's required once the guys get out. It takes a while.
No, I was just curious
it's
because
not an immediate deal.
Yeah, I mean, Lane Kiffin once missed the bus, but I don't think they're going to have wheels up without Kalen DeBoer on the plane.
And they shouldn't at Ole Miss leave without him. But at Alabama, yes, Lane, if you're not on the bus, we'll leave you.
11 a.m. kickoff on Fox on Saturday. What time do y'all start the broadcast?
We will start for an 11 a.m. kick. We will start at 8 a.m.
8 a.m.
Yep. Breakfast with Bama.
I know. Number 4, Alabama traveling to Wisconsin. And, of course, if you're looking for more Chris Stewart, you can always find him at chrisstewart.online.
Very good. You nailed it.
2 S's. And always we want to thank Scott Forrester back there for, again, using the oven mitts and making sure this dumpster fire gets contained and in where it belongs. And to Tim Melton for helping.
Good description.
Helping shape up this chicken salad. And also, be sure to check out everything on the Disrupt Media platform. Of course, the mothership, The Next Round, has you covered every day and on demand. And for all of your Alabama needs, check out Crimson Cover.
You got it all in.
I know. I have to write it down because if not, it's all gone.
Yeah, sometimes you write things down and you still say it wrong. Not you, me.
You're going to crush it.
I'm trying not to get crushed by it.
It's okay. No, again. $10 million.
Okay.
That'd
be a good week.
That's what we're bringing into the universe. I'm Kelly Hunter. Chris Stewart, you can check him out all the time on chrisstewart.online. And, of course, look for him and listen to him on Saturday with the game and tonight with Coach DeBoer.
That's right. Hey, Coach and the Kalen DeBoer Show.
That's right. Okay, well, before we leave, give them what they came for. Yeah.
Roll Tide.
See y'all next week.